Hello there, my name is Pat, and I'm a citizen of Norwalk and a member of the Board of Ethics for the city. This video, we're going to review Chapter 32, Section 12 of the Code of Ethics for Norwalk, and the title is Organization and Duties of the Board of Ethics and Ethics Complaint Procedures. This particular section is pretty lengthy and very complex, so we've decided to break it up a bit. So I'm going to review the organization and duties of the Board of Ethics first. So the powers and duties of the Board of Ethics are, first, encouraging a high ethical standard throughout the city, provide advisory opinions for issues brought forth, investigate complaints and conduct hearings of the complaints, notify appropriate officials of any memorandum of the decision of the complaint, and provide educational programs for the code on the Code of Ethics. As far as membership in the Board of Ethics, there are a total of 7 members. 5 of the members are full members, 2 are alternate members. All of the members must be voters in the city for the city of Norwalk. No more than 2 members and 1 alternate shall be registered in the same political party. No member can be an employee or officer for the city. Members are appointed for a 3-year term, and in the event that there is a vacancy, a replacement member can be appointed to serve out the balance of the term. Members are appointed by the Common Council, and in order to be appointed, there must be an affirmative vote of 11 members in order to receive the appointment. The Board of Ethics elects a chairman. Minutes are maintained and filed with the city clerk. One full member of the board can request a meeting at any time, but the date and time of the meeting is decided by the full board. Just so you know, there are monthly meetings that are scheduled, but that can be altered based on the current need. In order to have a meeting, there must be a quorum of 4 members. Alternate members who attend have all the powers and duties of a full member during any meeting. As far as advisory opinions, the Board of Ethics may receive written requests from any officer, employee, or agency to render an advisory opinion. Advisory opinions are binding until amended or revoked. Good faith reliance on advisory opinion is an absolute defense to any ethics complaint. Advisory opinions rendered within 120 days of the request and shall be filed with the city clerk. Advisory opinions are available to the public. So just in preface to us reviewing the complaint process, which we will do in the next video, you must understand that the complaint must be confidential. This is extremely important. It must be in writing and on the required form. You'll find this form on the city website. It must be signed under penalty of false statement. In other words, this must be a truthful statement. Contain the details of specific act or acts allegedly in violation of the Code of Ethics. It must be in good faith. It must not be intended to harass the respondent or the board. In other words, a vexatious complaint. And it must be timely. There are 2 definitions that you should understand. The complainant is the person who is making the complaint. The respondent is the person that is being complained about. Hello there, my name is Pat, and I'm a member of the Norwalk Board of Ethics. And today we're going to be talking about Chapter 32, Section 12, which is this is part 2, and we will be reviewing the complaint procedure for filing a complaint to the Board of Ethics. In the last video, you may remember that we talked a little bit about some important preliminary facts to the complaint procedure. And remember that the complaint must be confidential, it must be in writing, and it must be on the required form, it must be signed, and it must be truthful. It must contain the very specific allegations of violation of the Code of Ethics. It must be in good faith, and it must not be intended to harass the respondent or the board, and it must be timely. In other words, it must be something that you can't complain about something that happened a very, very long time ago. So these next 2 slides you'll see are very specific step-by-step resource for the complaint process. You will find them in the Citizens Guide to the Code of Ethics. Actually, you'll find them on page 9 and page 10, but what they do is talk about the important steps of the process, talks about the timeline of the process, and it delineates that which is confidential and that which the public has access to. This next one is a little bit hard to read here, but you'll find it again on the Citizens Guide. Okay, so the first step, the Ethics Board reviews the complaint. So the Board of Ethics reviews the complaint to determine whether it should be accepted. If the board rejects the complaint, it must do so in writing. Reasons to reject the complaint. Some examples are that there, say, a number of complaints filed by or pending by this particular complainant. The scope of the complaint, the nature, content, language, and or subject matter of the complaint, the nature, content, language, or subject matter of any written communications to the board, or a pattern of conduct resulting in abuse of the process and interference with the board. So, rejection of the complaint. First of all, remember that we said that the complaint must be in good faith, truthful, and not intended to harass. If the complaint is found to be in bad faith, untruthful, or vexatious, the board may provide appropriate relief commensurate with the conduct, or order that the Board of Ethics need not accept complaints from this complainant for a designated period of time. Each complaint obviously is looked at on an individual basis. So, upon receipt of the complaint, the Board of Ethics will meet. They'll discuss whether the complaint is to be accepted or rejected. And this is done in executive session, which means it's confidential. To discuss the appointment of the investigating panel will take place in this executive session. If the complaint is accepted, the investigating panel is appointed within 21 days, and the complainant and respondent are notified within 10 days after the investigating panel is formed. Okay, once again, talking about confidentiality, and a breach of confidentiality is a reason to reject a complaint. Breach of confidentiality can be direct or indirect. The breach of confidentiality may result in dismissal of the complaint, and the Board of Ethics may ban the complainant from filing future complaints due to a breach of confidentiality. A simple example would be if there's a discussion on social media, this would be a major breach of confidentiality, and could have the complaint dismissed. So the investigating panel process. The investigating panel determines whether there's probable cause that the respondent has violated the code. The investigating panel may delete, defer, reject, or expand any part of the complaint. The investigating panel may receive oral or written testimony from the complainant, respondent, and witnesses, and they may retain legal counsel or use of investigators if appropriate. The investigating panel must complete the investigation and decide the initial complaint within 60 days. So the decision by the investigating panel is one of two things. It's either going to be no probable cause, which would likely be the dismissal of the complaint, or probable cause, and then it's referred to the hearing board. Finding of no probable cause, again, is the complaint would be dismissed. The Board of Ethics would notify of the dismissal with a copy of the dismissal sent to the respondent and the complainant. Finding of probable cause requires that there be 2 affirmative votes and a written report to the Board of Ethics stating the basis for the finding, and the Board of Ethics appoints a hearing board within 45 days of the written report. So we're going to stop here and we'll take up the next step of the process in the next video. Thank you. Hello there, my name is Pat and I'm a member of the Board of Ethics for the City of Norwalk. This is part 3 of section 32, chapter 12 of the presentation on the ethics complaint process. We just talked about the investigation panel and who has just referred the complaint to the hearing board, and now we'll go on with that process. Remember that the review of the hearing board is a matter of public access, so it is not confidential. So the investigating panel presents all the evidence to the hearing board. The hearing board notifies the respondent and the complainant within 10 days of receipt of the report by the investigating panel of the hearing process. And all hearings are public hearings, as I said, and are not confidential. The public has a right to access to these hearings. The public hearing process includes the investigating panel presenting the complaint to the hearing board on behalf of the complainant. The investigating panel and the respondent's rights are to be represented by counsel, to present relative oral or written evidence, and to examine and cross-examine witnesses, to have the hearing conducted in such a manner as to afford both parties due process under federal, state, and local law. Subpoenas may be issued by the hearing board for both witnesses and records and or documents. The evidence and burden of proof must be proven for a violation of the code, and it must be proven by clear and convincing evidence. The investigating panel has the burden of proving the complaint, and a 2/3 vote of the hearing panel is required to make a finding of the violation of the Code of Ethics. Extensions of times, if required, will be at the discretion of the hearing board. The decision by the hearing board must be rendered within 120 days of the appointment. Within 30 days after rendering a decision, the hearing board must state its findings of fact and conclusions of law in a written memorandum of decision. And the memorandum of decision is filed with the mayor, city clerk, corporate counsel, and any other officer that is appropriate. There's a copy that's also provided to the complainant and the respondent. Penalties for violation of the ethics code are set forth in section 32, chapter 13. So just to point out that at any time, if the respondent wishes, they may enter into a settlement with the Board of Ethics investigating panel or the hearing board. And just to remind you that the educational programs are provided by the Board of Ethics, and that there is a citizen's guide on the website to the Code of Ethics, and that's available to the public and any interested parties. I refer you to these websites for the Code of Ethics, for the Citizens Code of Ethics, and if you find that you have any further questions, please feel free to contact Brian Candela, who is the legal counsel to the Board of Ethics. Thank you.